ladies and gentlemen. This is Raihan here, bringing you with another episode of the Dualcast podcast, and I'm here with my partner today, Paul.
Hello.
How are you doing today, Paul?
I'm doing pretty well. It's just been kind of cold lately, and it's just really making me angry because it's April.
Kind of cold? Holy shit, it's like 30-mile-an-hour wind out there right now, and 40 degrees, so it probably feels like 2 degrees.
Yeah, and, it like snowed yesterday for a little bit, and like...
It snowed this morning?
So it's just like, what is up with this weather? But other than that, doing pretty good. How about yourself?
Not bad, I understand this show has been delayed, if we're being honest, but that's mainly because that's my fault. I did get a new job, and I've just kind of been learning the ropes of the new job, but I've been doing really good. I'm enjoying my new job that I have. I'm working the hours that I need, and hopefully once I get a little more grasp on that, we can do this on a more regular basis. But I'm doing good,
Wish
man.
you worked on me more hours. Anyways, but yeah. So, I'm gonna give a brief recap of what we're talking about today.
Okay, is it the news?
It is.
All right, so what we'll be covering today is basically the Gears of War release date has been announced. We'll be talking about the Doom open beta briefly. That's coming out next weekend. Talk a little bit of our thoughts on the PS4 update that just came out. I think it's 3.50.
Yep.
Or is it 3.55? Okay. Talk a little bit of that Dark Souls 3 hype. I will personally have a Quantum Break review for you guys. And Paul, and I guess partially me, will have his thoughts on that Walking Dead finale that everybody must have loved last week. We're also going to talk a little. We're also going to talk a little bit about Batman v Superman, which is still surprisingly really relevant nowadays. And we're going to go ahead and give you some impressions on Rogue One. And if there is time, we will have a certain main topic. So I hope you guys enjoy the show. So, Paul, go ahead and carry it away.
All right, diving right into the news. Briefly get through all of these. Pretty much, you mentioned that the Gears of War 4 release date has been announced, and that is coming out October 11th. So that's pretty neat. I mean, I don't have an Xbox One, but I would like to play a game eventually.
Well, Paul, why don't you get an Xbox One, and then we can rekindle our love like we met when you were 14 and I was 16, and how we met on Gears of War.
Yes.
Get the FTW crew back together.
Bring our clan back together.
Yeah, exactly. Our old clan, everybody, even though they're at completely different places of life, prison, dead.
It's awful because it's actually true.
Yeah, that's really sad. It is pretty true.
Oh
my god.
So it looks interesting. I mean, I'm not sure how I feel about it being like Marcus's son being like I forget what his name, like JR or something. I don't remember what it was.
I don't see. When you said the release date today or right now, when we were about to record, that was the first time I heard the release date. I had heard it got announced, but I didn't care enough. I think for me, Gears, I love Gears. Yeah, I love Gears. But I'm just not at that phase anymore in my life where, Gears multiplayer just excites me like out of my skin like it used to.
Yeah.
So, but I'm definitely gonna play it. I will say that. And as for what you're saying, you really want to play it, but you don't have an Xbox One. I'm pretty sure it's gonna come to PC.
That'd be cool. I mean, we'll see.
Well, there was some detail, like a few weeks ago, I was reading just kind of, I forgot what news source, but, they were speaking with Rod Ferguson, and, they asked him, since, Quantum Break's going to Windows 10 and blah, 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 is Gears going to potentially come out? And the way he answered, he's just like, at this stage, we're concentrating on Xbox One, but we're not ruling out anything, which is pretty much a yes.
Yeah, but who knows how long in advance that you might have to wait for the PC version, if it'll come out at the same time, or if they just might go the route of keep releasing, they release like the Ultimate Gears of War, like 1 on PC, but, who knows if they might end up doing the same thing with like 2 and 3 or whatever to try to, make some more money.
That's true. But overall, I am pretty excited about Gears 4.
I guess a weighted feature of Gears of War 4 is I guess apparently there will be split screen in all modes. So
it's so sad that
that has to be a feature.
yeah, like that's like, oh, all right, guys, split screen. It's like every year's has had split screen.
Yeah.
I forget if it had 4-player split screen, but every year's had split screen.
Yeah.
Here's a new feature, guys. We've had in every other game. So I get that's cool. I'm glad about that, I guess.
Yeah. All right. So moving on from Gears to something more relevant to this week, well, next week rather, is the Doom Open multiplayer beta coming out this weekend. That is the 15th through the 17th. So from that, from what I've been seeing from the closed, it certainly looks fun for the most part. Very gory. I mean, you guys have seen from the initial Doom trailers that they released of a lot of the fast-paced gore and running around, shooting everything. That seemed to translate fairly well to the multiplayer stage. It kind of reminded me, I guess, due to like how colorful it was. I guess I was surprised about just how colorful it was. It reminded me almost of Halo, but with gore. Just with like some of the actions, the assassinations and stuff like that when you sneak up behind people. It reminded me a lot of the Halo Reach assassinations. Or you break their spine or something like that.
Those.
There are some pretty graphic ones though that I've seen from just some streams in general. But yeah, no, the gameplay itself looks pretty fun. One issue, however, though, I mean, this doesn't have to do with the beta itself, but more with the full game, is their plans for their DLC structure. They plan on releasing 3 DLCs, but each one has 3 new maps, new weapons, which is a little scary that they're locking off weapons to DLC. That could go pretty badly depending on how balanced those weapons are.
New multiplayer weapons. These aren't.
A new playable demon, new armor, which again could be an issue. New piece of equipment, which I'm not sure what the equipment serves, but that might be an issue as well. New hack modules, taunts, new customization colors and patterns, and the kicker is that each DLC pack will cost $15. So
$15,
not cheap. Or if you just want to shell out in the beginning, you can just spend a total of $40, which I wouldn't recommend. Based on this, I feel like for those of you who are familiar with Titanfall at all, they kind of did a similar structure to this, albeit they didn't lock off like weapons and stuff like that to DLC. It was mainly just maps. But even that led to a huge problem of segmenting their player base so much, where it was so hard finding people to play with. And of course that discourages people from wanting to play if they can't find like one full fucking game to like play a team deathmatch or something like that.
Well, I mean, the other thing also that killed Titanfall was the platform exclusivity.
Well, yeah, of course that.
I will
but
say, though,
even more,
in Titanfall's defense,
the DLC structure in general, because the game was fun. I enjoyed the game a lot. I know a lot of other people did.
What, Titanfall?
Yeah.
And it also, I just want to say, in Titanfall's defense, once it was dying, I don't know if it brought people back, but I think it had a weekend where all the DLC was free for people.
Yeah, I think now, actually, whenever you buy the game, I think you get all the DLC automatically.
Oh, really?
I think so now, yeah. So
maybe I should buy it.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like that would have been great if they would have done it a lot sooner, but I feel like now it's just probably a very very little amount of people actually playing still. But probably. I mean, it's still a good looking game. It's still a fun game from what I've seen and what I heard. It's just the matter of finding people to play with. So who knows how the Doom multiplayer will go. I know a lot of people mainly will probably buy this for the story in general, because I mean that's I think mainly what people are buying it for. And
I mean, like, I think on the PC side of it, here's the thing. For me, obviously, or not just for me, millions of people, like, obviously Doom originated on PC. I don't see Doom surviving on console at all.
No, yeah, definitely not.
But, without the DLC practices in mind, I can actually kind of still see Doom thriving on PC based on the gameplay alone, because it doesn't really... Now, not that I would know, but it doesn't really play like Doom. it plays more like Unreal Tournament, and that style of shooter, it's so not common anymore. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Well, I guess there's like Quake Live, but does that really count? You know?
Yeah.
So it's like I have a feeling it'll thrive. I don't think in like a Call of Duty way, but some kind of moderate way, kind of like one of those, like Red Orchestra 2 type deals. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think it'll thrive in that way. Certainly not Counter-Strike way either, but so I just want to throw that in there.
Yeah, but I mean, hey, I guess if they want to see their game not last that long, maybe that was their point, so they can shell out another edition of the game. But either way, I don't see that as boding very well for their multiplayer modes. And so hopefully the single-player content is long enough and satisfying enough to make up for those kind of practices that they're kind of initiating. Moving on from that, though, the PS4 3.5 update is now out now. That includes the remote play option, which is probably the biggest thing people are worrying about with this one, as well as a few other tweaks with notifications, general stability. One thing that hasn't been really mentioned much, but I've seen on a few threads, that the download speeds have actually finally been sort of fixed, I guess.
What do you mean?
Where before, say, you had a pretty good internet connection, but when you did test internet connection on PS4, it said only like download 23 megabytes per second or whatever the hell.
And then it would switch to like 32 kilobytes per second the next speed test.
Yeah. So this one, finally, it's actually more accurate to what your actual internet speed is for like what you're paying for. So prior, I was getting internet speeds of I think about 40 megabytes per second, which isn't bad.
Wired connection, right?
Yeah, wired connection. Yeah. And then upon doing the internet speed test, the speed test through the PlayStation, after this update came out, I believe I was getting like 60 or 70.
Wow, that's a giant.
Yeah, so definitely a good leap. Definitely more in line with what my internet connection actually is. So that's cool. I saw people were saying a lot of the same things, so that they saw jumps in their internet speeds, to be more in line with what they actually have instead of whatever lowered speeds that they had prior on it. You get notifications when friends come online. I'm already utilizing that somewhat with I think I have a notification set for like you, Kyle, TJ.
Ooh. I have a notification for you, Kyle,
and it works pretty well.
You and Kyle.
It's like I would like it if it just says like so and so is online, but a notification pops up like your PlayStation friend's online, and then underneath it says their name, which I guess it's better than nothing. But I guess I was used to the old school 360 notifications where it was like, the Zep 187's online.
Hey, you know what? I will take any kind of notification that friends are on at this point, and I do really like that you can at least customize it too.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Yeah. It doesn't have to be
really
every friend.
I got used to not getting notifications, but it's there. I'm happy with it. I'll tell you one thing I've been really utilizing. Not that I really have a reason to, but I think it stops all notifications. The appear offline mode I've been utilizing.
Oh yeah, I haven't actually used that one yet, but they did add that as well.
So the appear offline, that was like a really big requested feature, and I can understand because people don't want to be bothered sometimes. A lot of times I'm not even gonna lie. But one thing about that function that's kind of cool, and it could be kind of annoying at the same time, is if you set your status to appear offline, the next time you sign in, you're still going to be technically appearing offline. So make sure you manually switch that.
Yeah.
The other thing is if you are on your PlayStation 4, but you do appear offline, but let's say you're on your PS Vita and, your Vita's connected online and stuff like that, unfortunately, you'll still show up. But, that kind of makes sense. You're still signing into PlayStation. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Which actually... after this podcast, you should text me and let me know, because my PlayStation, I'll tell you when I turn it on, but my Vita's, like, technically speaking, always logged in.
Uh-huh.
So let me know if I appear online or offline.
Okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, and then the big feature of the update is remote play. I've yet to try it because I don't really have a point, as my TV is literally right next to my monitor for like my setup I have going on.
Jesus, why don't you go take a walk outside? What's wrong with you?
So for that, it'd be pretty pointless. I mean, I guess if I wanted to play on a bigger TV, play my PlayStation on a bigger TV, as I have my TV that I'm using for my PlayStation is a tad bit smaller. But yeah, it only works on Windows 8.1 and up. So FYI,
That's
if
whack.
you want to take advantage of it, looks like you have to upgrade if you don't have one of those two already. It's as simple as you just download a file from the PlayStation website itself. I don't have the exact link to it, so I couldn't tell you off the top of my head. But you download that, you set it up, you pretty much, after that, it's pretty much your golden. I haven't utilized it myself, but from pictures, it looks pretty good. You can play it over the internet in general. So, if you're not home, you can play it over the internet, which is pretty neat. So say you're out somewhere, have internet connection on your laptop, you're missing your PlayStation, although you will have to have the controller. From what I've read, you can't control it with keyboard and mouse. You have to have the controller itself.
You don't just keep a DualShock 4 in your pocket.
Yeah, so, if you want to utilize that, definitely keep a controller in, your backpack or suitcase, however the hell you travel. But yeah, so the N as well as the USB cord, because that is, I believe, the only way you can connect the PlayStation 4 controller to the laptop itself. But from what I've seen, it works pretty well. A lot of people utilizing it in pretty interesting ways, pretty funny ways. So that's definitely a pretty cool feature, and maybe one day I'll be able to utilize that once I have a laptop that isn't a potato. Because it does not run on Linux or Chromebook, obviously.
Yeah. I mean, that feature sounds cool, so that's good. I guess next thing on the list is Dark Souls 3 hype.
Yep.
I'm
Hype.
pretty excited for the release on, what is it, Tuesday now? God, it seems like it was forever, and now it's just kind of coming out. Although many people, according to Twitch especially, have already been enjoying the Japanese versions of Dark Souls 3 on both PC and the Xbox One. I thought about doing that, but honestly, as much as I like Souls games, I think I'm more in kind of in the middle. Not hardcore, unless it comes to Bloodborne, and I can appreciate the other Souls games. See what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But I'm pretty excited for Dark Souls 3. I have my copy pre-ordered. Can't wait till Tuesday to try it. Hopefully I fall in love with it, just like I did Bloodborne, and especially with how infatuated I was with the new DLC for Bloodborne. I think I'm really going to have a fun time with Dark Souls 3. From what I understand, the game is, of course this is subjective, but many people are kind of saying it might be the easiest Dark Souls, which is, when compared to what? You know what I mean? So it's it's still hard. And then I hear other people saying, the first, 10, maybe 15 hours are a gradual rise in difficulty, but it's pretty easy, quote unquote. And then it just spikes in difficulty. So it's I've heard that as well, but by all accounts, I've basically heard people say this game is really good. Some people are obviously, saying this is amazing, 10 out of 10.
Yep.
But even the most, I guess you could say, negative, quote unquote, review is you know what? This is a good game, but I'm kind of used to it. But they're not even to the point where they're saying man, this game sucks. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's that's how you know you got a quality product. When essentially this game is probably never gonna get below at least a 7, but probably never gonna get below an 8 or something.
Yeah, from what I've seen, reviews, mainly, 10 out of 10s, 9.5s, 4 out of 5s, 8s, 7s. I did see 1 6. But that was one of the very many. Apart from that, 4.5s, 9 out of 10s, 9.5s, etc. So far, it seems like a great game. And, we were talking a bit earlier about how that there was speak of some general frame rate issues. But I actually just saw right now that there's actually a patch coming out or ready, actually, at least on the PC version, but I can't imagine the system version would be too far along, that fixes fixed frame rate options and stuff like that, and the general issues that were plaguing a lot of copies and a lot of people. So that should be up and ready for you to download once you actually have the game. That'll probably be, probably like a day one patch, maybe. I would imagine.
I'd be really happy with that.
Yeah.
Because that is one of the problems with Souls games is frame rate. But I will say, and this isn't even me like, like stroking the ego of whatever. They have frame rate dips, but they're the weirdest frame rate dips in the world. Like they don't actually dip when it matters, at least personally speaking. I have had dips in boss fights, but it's like it's weird. I feel like the game is almost conscious of it, and like it dips around everything, if that makes sense, but not where it matters.
Yeah.
So, but I could. It's still, it's still an issue that should be addressed because I don't think that should be happening. But I'm really glad to hear that they're, having this day one patch.
Yeah. All right. So moving on to the more meat of the episode, even though we've already talked a good deal, is your review of Quantum Break. Your initial impressions, rather.
Quantum Break. Yeah, I guess it's initial impressions and partial review. I guess. I think I played enough of it to give a review.
One sec. Will there
okay.
be spoilers?
Oh. Well, I haven't beaten the game, so I can't give you like end game spoilers. I honestly I'll just give you like basic spoilers. Nothing major.
Okay. Just disclaimer,
yeah.
just in case.
Yeah. So anyways, Quantum Break, newest game by Remedy, developers of Max Payne 1 and 2 and Alan Wake. All three games which I would probably pretty much say I love, especially Max Payne 1. Hell, and Alan Wake. I mean, that was my introduction to Twin Peaks. But Quantum Break is essentially a game about, it's a science fiction game, and it stars, what's his name, Sean Ashmore. He plays Iceman in the X-Men films, and it also stars Aidan Gillen, who is Littlefinger in Game of Thrones, and it stars Lance Reddick, who is, thinking about it, I think he's kind of like the Samuel Jackson of TV shows. He's in Lost, he's in Fringe, he's in The Wire. Like, he's a really recognizable guy. He was in John Wick as the hotel manager for, people who know. Yeah, that guy. So he's in a lot of stuff. But, and essentially the story of Quantum Break is like, Sean Ashmore plays a character named Jack Joyce. And, he gets invited by his friend Paul Serene, played by Aidan Gillen, to a university that Paul Serene works at, along with Jack Joyce's brother Will Joyce, played by Dominic Monaghan from Lost, and I think Lord of the Rings, actually. He was Charlie in Lost. Essentially, once Jack Joyce goes and meets this character, Paul Serene, at the university, Paul shows him, hey, look, I've been working on a time machine, and then, you're going to help me with this last phase of, what we have to do with the time machine. And, of course, as you can guess in a story like that, shit goes completely bonkers and wrong. And Jack ends up getting time powers, and so does, Paul Serene. But essentially what happens from there, though, is there is this corporation in the game called Monarch, and they're kind of trying to take control of the time machine and use it for their own purposes, quote unquote. And basically Paul Serene works with this corporation, Monarch. He's actually in control of it. And basically a big conflict arises from there. I don't know how much I want to give away there. The main through line as far as a threat goes is the end of time as we know it is coming. Okay, so that's kind of what you're trying to stop, but it's not completely black and white. So let's get into the nitty gritty, like how's it play, the structure of the game, things such as that. So Quantum Break, at first glance, it's pretty much like a cover shooter. Not one where you contextually get into cover, as in, pressing a button and things like that. It's more like the Tomb Raider games. I don't know if you play the newer ones. When you walk up to cover, your character will crouch or, put his back against the wall, whatever, things like that. But one really distinct thing that gives it away that this is not a cover shooter is you can't even blind fire with your character. Now that might be seen as a negative, but I never really had to use that, function. So really, the kind of shooter this game is more like you have these time powers with your character Jack Joyce. Kind of like time stop, where you throw like a bubble out essentially of time, and it slows down people, bullets, characters, whatever. You have time dodge, which is exactly what it sounds like. You go really fast through the environment. You have a time shield, which stops bullets in their tracks. Then you have another little power. It's like you slow down all the time around you, and you're running really fast through time. And if you go up to people fast enough, you can hit B and melee them to death, which is pretty awesome. And then there was another one. Oh, you have time vision, which, if you think about it, it's kind of like the eagle vision stuff in Assassin's Creed games. So it allows you to see like enemies through walls and highlighted objects and things such as that. So I guess for some people you could say like an easy button in a way, but it stops working as soon as your character moves. So there is that. But anyway, so I'd say the overall core moment-to-moment gunplay and shooting in the game is like pretty solid. If you don't play it like a cover shooter, I'd say it's more solid than it is. Because if I played it as a base cover shooter, it could get really boring. But with the combination of, like shooting, utilizing different weapons, which, by the way, this game has fucking RoboCop's like machine pistol. It's awesome. But it's like, you can do things where like, you might stop like a group of guys to the left, right? And then like while you do that, you time dash up to another group of guys, create a shield around you, and then shoot everybody through the shield. And on the left of you, all those guys are, kind of frozen in time. And while they're still frozen, you can pelt a bunch of shots into the time bubble. And when time places again into real time, all those bullets is going to hit like, these other characters. So that's pretty cool. There's some light environmental puzzle solving as well. Really easy stuff, really obvious. It's kind of like, maybe shoot that box that's on a crane over there, have the box drop down. The box might break, but then you rewind time a little, get on top of the box, rewind it enough to this point, jump onto this ledge, things such as that. And, you get the point of that. And then there are other moments where I'd say narrative is the gameplay. So there's actually surprisingly a lot of quote unquote quiet moments in this game. Mainly it's like you might follow a character around and you will just hear kind of like the narrative, the story, their thoughts on it, which I think is, for the most part pretty well written. Or you might go into a room and you just see these amazing like like in movies when they show like maybe time lapses of things and such like that, right?
Yeah.
Like maybe a building being built or something like that. So you'll see like time lapses of things playing out in real time in front of you. It, no pun intended. So it's really cool stuff. So there's all that basic gameplay, which in my opinion, it's pretty solid. Is it the greatest in the world? No. But is it entertaining as hell? Yes, it's very fun. Now, the other portion of this game that I think it's unique, it's something that's not uncommon, but I think to the degree that it's doing it, it is, I think, the first of its kind. Could be wrong. If, people want to provide examples, I'm more than open to it. But so you also have these sections where you play for a short amount of time as Paul Serene, the quote-unquote bad guy of the game, right? And these are mainly just narrative sections, at least so far, no like shooting or anything crazy yet. But they're called junctions. And at these junctions, you go up to like a certain narrative kind of post, and then you have a choice to make. And then you can, hold LT or RT and see what this path will lead down to or this path will lead down to. And then you can make one of those two choices, right? And then after you make that choice, whatever it is, it'll affect the outcomes of essentially a live action TV show that plays out in front of the games. So it's like you'll have like 3.5 hours of shooting, whatever gameplay, and then at the end, after these junctions, they have these TV show episodes that are 20 to 25 minutes each, and they take place from the perspective of a character named Liam Burke, who is a Monarch agent, but he's pretty much like a rogue kind of Monarch agent. He's kind of having some difficulties believing in the path that the company's taking with this whole shit. And it fleshes out, kind of like the world, and really what it does is it fleshes out the other side, the quote unquote bad guys, the kind of side characters in the game and stuff like that. And I think, as a whole, the TV shows are pretty entertaining. There's 4 in total. I've seen 3. And there's 5 acts in the game, by the way. So 4 TV shows and 5 acts. I'd say they're pretty good in my opinion. They're much better written than most games. When compared to other TV shows, you could compare it to something like maybe like Fringe, or maybe like I don't know if you've seen like Person of Interest or like The Blacklist or something like that. And that's in terms of like writing and production quality and stuff like that. I will say the guy that plays Liam Burke, I think that guy should play Green Arrow, because he's really I was surprised. There was a scene, I'm not going to spoil it, but it was just between him and his wife in the live action show, and for a game, like it's just not the type of scene you would expect in a game. And it's like it really does help you care about these characters that you ordinarily you wouldn't give 2 shits about. So that's where like the game is like really unique in its own way. The other way it's really unique is, of course, it's a Remedy game, so there's like a million Easter eggs in the game, whether that's to Alan Wake or Max Payne. I mean, there's like live action TV shows that play within the world. That's like it's a cop show starring the guy that was the face model of Alan Wake. His name is Sam Lake. He's one of the developers at Remedy, and he plays a cop, ironically, who is investigating the death of, I think the writer is Alan Wake. Pretty meta stuff in the game. So it's really unique in that regard. But, I've rambled on about Quantum Break. Like, overall, in all honesty, like, in my opinion, I think the story is pretty solid. There's some flaws here and there. Like, there's some character arcs that don't get fully explored all the way, I've noticed already. But overall, the story is solid.
One question.
And I think...
I've seen some people say that this game is a valid excuse to go and buy an Xbox One. Would you agree?
Okay. Well, okay, first off, I'll finish that thought for a second. So, I'd say it's a solid game, and I think it's very fun. And I wholeheartedly recommend buying it, and I don't mean buy it like later. Like, I think it's worth $60. Is it worth buying an Xbox One for? I don't think so.
Okay.
Now, here's the thing. I really like the game. I would spend $60 on it, which I did. But it's a very short game. It's like 10 hours. To me, that's not a complaint. I think 10 hours is perfect for a lot of games, and especially for an action game. But if you're just buying your Xbox One for Quantum Break and you don't really have too much interest outside of this game, I don't think it's worth getting. An Xbox One as in. I don't think it's going to be a system seller or anything. But if you were already considering getting an Xbox One because you have some other games you're interested in, but one of your main reasons was this game, and you're like, should I buy an Xbox One now for this game? Then yes, I would recommend it. It really is fun, and just I think you get your money's worth, in my opinion. And I've also seen this game be pretty divisive, surprisingly. So, but I think this game is what the Order 1886 was trying to be. Is like this combination of like, movie narrative and like story based thing, but like the order completely crashed and burned, and I think like Quantum Break really kind of took its time because it was in development for long as hell.
Yeah.
And just kind of, I think it gave a really good product in the end. But no, I don't think, if this is the only game you want, it's not worth buying an Xbox 4.
Gotcha.
But yeah.
All right.
That's my review.
So, moving on to things that aren't so positively received, is...
Oh yeah. What did you think
The Walking
about
Dead
the
finale.
Walking Dead finale last week?
Now, before I get into anything, you know, I'm not going to say any major spoilers. They're going to be little things, and generally how the episode ends, which, you know, probably has been possibly already spoiled for you, judging. I mean, I've seen articles with the title being how the episode ends. And...
Not even much of a spoiler, to be honest.
Yeah, it's cliffhanger. So... but just FYI, I won't be diving into too many details about it. In-depth
So tell me,
details.
Paul, what did you think?
The episode itself was actually pretty good for the most part. Like, it was decent enough. To be honest, I'm not generally a huge Walking Dead fan anymore. After a few seasons.
Well, actually, hang on. Let me stop you there. So, because me and you trash on Walking Dead a lot, but did you actually start rewatching it from like a point where we stopped and then catch all the way back?
No.
Up? I just want some context.
No.
Okay.
I watched maybe a few episodes this season. I've been watching it very, just kind of scattered. I mainly wanted to watch this one just because of the introduction of the character Negan, as well as what I assumed was going to be the ending. So I wanted to see that happen because I read the graphic novel and I read that scene, and it's definitely one of the most iconic scenes in the novel itself. It's essentially The Walking Dead's Red Wedding. To give it some context as to how big the scene is in the novels for the most part. It's a shocker. But didn't quite get that in the show. Now, don't get me wrong. Like I said, the show, the episode in general, I thought was well-paced for the most part. The first maybe half hour, it was a 90-minute episode. The first half hour, in a sense, was a little boring, just because it was a lot of just the group going from one end to another, kind of getting cut off by Negan's group. Very good performance by Stephen Ogg. Trevor from Grand Theft Auto 5. He is actually a pretty great actor, and he does insane really well. He was not so much insane in this one, but he was very intimidating. Some people probably would have even liked him as Negan. But I think the stand-up performance throughout the whole thing, before getting to the end at least, was Andrew Lincoln. And, he's always been one of the strongest, and of course he's essentially the lead of the show. But his performance throughout the show, I think, was amazing. It was so subtle. Going from the normal kind of confident Rick to each time they kept getting cut off by Negan's group, and just to kind of show that they really were trapped, you just kind of saw him break more and more until they finally get to the end, when they finally get confronted. They're running. There's a really good whistling scene where they are completely surrounded by all of the saviors, I believe they're called. They're completely surrounded by them on all sides. They're all whistling this frightening little whistle. It was actually pretty scary, an intense moment. If I was them, I certainly would be shitting my pants too.
I heard about how the last 10 minutes was pretty...
Yeah, definitely,
weird.
If there's anything that this episode did phenomenally well, it was the last, 15 minutes, sans the very end.
Yeah.
So, yeah, pretty much up at that point, you see Andrew Lincoln just completely, he breaks. His face shows it. He is completely scared. He feels, you could see that he feels out of control. Nothing is something he can easily talk his way out of or figure his way out of. At this point, he truly is at the mercy of someone else. And he delivered that amazingly. And once the confrontation with Negan comes up, which Jeffrey Dean Morgan, I think was an amazing choice for Negan in general.
Mm-hmm.
And, the right amount of like charismatic, but also like intimidating and scary. I feel like it's a little lessened. I feel just because it's a TV broadcast and they really had to make some sacrifices with Negan's language, because Negan in the comics curses a lot, namely fuck.
Yeah, I
he
saw,
says
like, some of the
he drops
panels.
the
It was just
F-bomb.
like, fuck, fuckity, fuck.
He drops the
like-
F-bomb so many times. And this one, they had to make sacrifices, which I thought was interesting. They allowed him to say shit a few times. I mean,
that's allowed in AMC shows.
yeah, so that's an interesting kind of thing. But Jeffrey Dean Morgan, I thought he did an amazing job. He delivered the lines really well. Physically wise, it's not exactly what I imagined, but it's not really a big deal. He still did a phenomenal job. He honestly, even with not watching that show for like continuously and kind of just watching episode here and there, my heart was actually racing when I was watching the scene. Like, I was like so invested in like his entire speech that he was giving, because the good last 10 minutes is just him talking to the group. The entire group that we all know, they're all reduced to just, they have to be all on their knees at that point. And he brings them to that point, and he intimidates the hell out of everyone. Some of them try to act tough, and like some of them are kind of defiant in the beginning when they're on their knees, but as his like speech goes on, you see them just generally break too, as they realize kind of the reality of what they're dealing with right now. And yeah, no, pretty much the big focus of the scene was that and it's minor spoiler. But I mean, it's a spoiler in the comic alone, and the comic's been around for a few years, so I don't feel too bad. I'm not gonna say who exactly, but the main thing was that Negan he figured he has to punish this group for killing his men, and as he said, he was like, when I sent more people to kill you for killing my people, and then you killed more of my people, he's like, that just wasn't cool, as he puts it in the show. So they can't get away without being punished. So unpunished, rather. He has to beat the living hell out of someone, again, as he puts it, with his trademark bat, Lucille, which is a wooden bat with barbed wire wrapped around the top of it. Very intimidating sight. Imaginably so, especially if it was aimed, like, pointed right at your face. Right. I'm pretty sure there was blood already on it, so I'm sure it's been used numerous times in the past. People are, the whole cast is shaking, they're all frightened, and, he starts up his game of eeny, meeny, miny, mo, to pick who he wants to essentially murder out of the group. And, the whole time, I was so worried, because there were hints and, like, rumors that they're going to end on a cliffhanger, and other people were like, no, they wouldn't do that, they wouldn't ruin it, that scene has to have impact and stuff like that. And then what do you know? they start speeding up the whole game he does of who he's pointing the bat at, and they start doing it out of order, so you can't kind of tell where he's pointing at. There's no continuity in it, for people to kind of like try to like Sherlock Holmes this shit, to like figure out by like the camera angles and stuff like that. People have already kind of like done that a little, but like there's so many conflicting reports with exactly if that's even possible, because in the end, when it cuts to the person, he says it's you, it cuts to that person's point of view, and then he starts beating that person, but all you see is through that person's eyes, and like the whole golden, like James Bond GoldenEye effect with the blood coming down or whatever. It looked really stupid. And then you hear the sound of people screaming, and like the general collision of the bat against a person, which is pretty disturbing, and pretty like pretty gross in general, the thuds and stuff like that. And it was just a very good scene. I hated that.
Oh wait, so you do actually hear like somebody get hit, just not who?
Yeah. Like he you are at that moment, the audience is essentially the person that he picks. Like the camera is directly from that person's point of view, like through their eyes. And then he hits him. he's like, oh, taking it like a champ, and then he just starts beating the shit out of him. Like, direct hits.
Wait, taking it like a champ.
Yeah, like, because I guess after the first hit, he's still, like, whoever is being beaten is still managing to, like, stay upright and doesn't, like, completely collapse from the one hit. So, he's, like, still taunting the guy, like, taunting whoever it is that they're like, whoever he's killing as he's killing him. But it just doesn't, like, it. I was hoping maybe it would pan out at the last second and be like, show the person's body, and then Negan in the comics is like, ta-ta, as he leaves them to kind of, like, wallow in the death of their friend. But in this one, in the show, they chose to go the route of just ending it as the person's being beaten. So someone's dying and someone's essentially dead, but you just don't know who. And it was just, I felt like it was such a cheap cop-out to, like, to ensure people will come back next season because they want to see who the hell it finally was. If they're going to stick to the comics and, like, pick, who died with that, or if they're going to go off the rails like they have been with a lot of their deaths in the shows, and be it someone completely different. So there's been a lot of speculation as to who it could be, if they're going to stick with the original source, or if they're going to be other fan favorites that it might be. That there's speculation of Daryl, Abraham, some people possibly even saying Michonne, people like that. There's other characters in it that I didn't think were as important that people were contemplating it might be. So hopefully they don't go that route, because that would be the ultimate cop-out, if having one of the least significant out of the few being the one that ends up getting killed. But again, the whole performance, by Andrew Lincoln, Jeffrey Dean Morgan, the entire cast, is phenomenal, but I'd say it's definitely overshadowed by the cliffhanger ending. And what I meant by the conflicting reports is that there are so many things the actors are saying and what the people themselves, like the directors and showrunners, are saying, that it's not really possible to piece together who the hell is actually saying, telling the truth. The actor who plays Carl had tweeted shortly after the episode ended, just because there was an uproar, as you can imagine, that he says, to be like, if it makes them feel any better, that he still doesn't know who was killed either. And it's been about 6 months since he's read that script. So supposedly he doesn't know. Of course, he could be just saying that, he's an actor and he could be under a specific contract to not say anything.
Well, maybe he hasn't seen who got killed yet because he only has one eye.
And Andrew Lincoln had mentioned that the cast wouldn't talk about it amongst themselves. I guess they didn't want to talk about it, and there are so many reports of Norman Reedus, Andrew Lincoln reading the script and saying that they were generally like sickened and it made them want to throw up at the end. Unless they're talking about the cliffhanger. I'm not sure what they were talking about. So Norman Reedus supposedly knows who it was. Okay. Jeffrey Dean Morgan mentioned that he didn't even know that the episode would end on a cliffhanger until he actually saw the episode. So I don't know how you can not imagine it was a cliffhanger if you didn't know who it was that you were killing. So I can imagine that I think they shot that scene not with everyone there. So it either seems like even all the cast doesn't quite know how the hell things were going, and only a few of them actually know what's going on. But like other people are, and like showrunners are saying that that the scene hasn't been filmed yet. Robert Kirkman, when he was on The Talking Dead, was saying, or people are saying that there are some clues and hints thrown out there, but then, a day later, that's conflicted with the showrunner, Scott Gimple, saying that, you can't figure it out based on how they shot it, because, it might have been shot out of order, and, the continuity, of which they've abused in the past, of when there are scenes that there was a clear something happened, but then when it picked up again, that thread was completely abandoned. I think there was a herd or something, someone yelled out like "Mom" or something like that. But then like when it cut to right next to the next scene, or like to the next portion of when it should have followed up, it acted as if that never happened at all. So, continuity is something that they have, neglected in the past. So I wouldn't be surprised if they neglected it this time. And so it's frustrating to know that to see how they did this. And I'm scared not scared, but I guess I'm upset just because the scene is such an iconic one. It's like if in the Red Wedding, and spoilers for the Red Wedding, but frankly you should have already watched that by now. The show's old enough, that scene's old enough, as well as the book is old enough. At this point, you should have already known.
But
Yeah.
spoilers.
With the Red Wedding, that's like if they cut to like right before what's face slits his throat, or like slits the mom's throat, or like kills Rob or whatever. Like they completely cut away from that, and you just see someone screaming or something. You don't see exactly what's happening, and then black out. And then when they come up on the next season, everyone's already dead. So it's just like it would totally ruin the momentum of that scene in general. And I feel like that's what they did with this. Is that like the scene itself, while amazingly performed by everyone involved, I feel like it was just overshadowed. And a lot of people agree that all the performances, the episode itself wasn't that bad. The performances by everyone were phenomenal, but it was completely ruined by the way they ended it. Like all the impact, all the excitement, just waiting for the payoff completely dwindled at the end once they figured out. I was so excited, my heart was racing. I was like, oh shit, they're actually going to show it. This is actually happening. I'm actually kind of excited for this moment.
I even DVR'd the show, and I haven't watched since season 3.
Yeah, so it's like, I was so pumped, I was so hyped, but then that happened, and my excitement, my hype, completely turned to frustration and anger. It's just like, what? Like, that's literally like my reaction and other people's reactions. Like people have done reaction videos of like people watching it, and like it's pretty hilarious.
God, I didn't even think about that. I need
seeing
to watch
some reactions of like just the the happiness on people's faces and the excitement on people's faces completely die as this episode ends. But yeah, overall, I mean, performances were great. Watch it for that. Don't watch it to get any kind of closure or any worthwhile payoff in the story. But apart from that, yeah, that I think that'll be my ending on talking about that show. Oh, actually, wait, one more huge thing that happens. I can't believe I forgot I even mentioned it. Was that actually, never mind. Let's talk about Batman versus Superman.
No, what is it? I want to hear it real quick.
No, I mean, we can wait until another episode to talk about it.
Oh, okay. If it's a big thing.
Yeah, it's a big thing. I wouldn't want people to get their hopes up too much to get all this information one time. So maybe in the future we'll talk about it.
Okay. So, anyways, I'm sorry. I just saw a really ugly picture of Bam Margera.
He's slowly turning into Don Vito.
It says, "Be careful who you call ugly in middle school."
I've seen that one.
Holy fucking shit! What?
Like that picture of Bam, he looks like he's slowly turning into Don Vito. Like his eye is off to like the side, and like he's he gained a lot of weight. He has the whole beard, and like he just looks like he's turning into Don Vito.
Yeah, I do see that. Oh my god. But anyways, back on track. So we're gonna briefly. That was the positive interlude, by the way, before we get into some more negative. Jesus Christ. We're going to briefly surmise some thoughts about Batman v Superman and how apparently Warner Brothers is expecting to earn less on Batman v Superman, one of the most expensive movies ever made, by the way, than it did on Man of Steel. It's actually making, I think it's on track for $278 million right now. And Man of Steel made $300 million.
Jesus.
At this point. So, yeah, yeah. You know what? Fuck the financials. I just want to come right out and say it. I don't care what anybody says. I really don't. I don't care what these hardcore quote unquote comic fans say. Any of this bullshit. Batman v Superman is one of the worst films I've seen in a long time. And that's speaking strictly narratively, but it is also a basically picture proof of how you can have these amazing visuals, Some pretty decent music in my opinion. Hans Zimmer is usually good. A giant budget, great well-known actors. But if your story's a piece of shit and it's unfocused, then you know what? Fuck your movie. You can kiss it goodbye. And that's exactly what happened to Batman v Superman. One of the most unfocused narratives in the world that I've seen in a long time, at least. I mean, the film didn't know if it wanted to be The Dark Knight Returns, or if it wanted to be The Death of Superman, or if it wanted to be some pseudo version of Injustice, or a Wonder Woman origin story, or a Flashpoint Paradox story. What the fuck did it want to be? I know what it wanted to be. It just wanted to play catch up with Marvel as fast as they could. Much. And they pretty much created the shittiest product you could get. I was always worried because over the years I've been hearing, oh, this thing's in the movie, this thing's in the movie, blah, 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 this is that. And I'm just thinking, how the fuck is all this stuff in the movie? Just how? Even if it's a cameo, how the fuck is all this stuff in the movie? You know what I mean? But then, you know what? The proof is in the fucking pudding. The movie is 2.5 hours long, and it doesn't finish any of its main stories. I don't even know what the fuck the main story is. What is the main story? Is it Batman v Superman? Because it's not.
No, the main story is, hey, look, Justice League's movie is coming out.
Sure, why not? Because, I mean, the Batman v Superman part, that part sucked dick. I don't care what anybody said. That fight sucked dick. It was 10 minutes of just awful CG battering. Like, the Man of Steel fights were way better. I mean, the Batman v Superman fights sucked dick. The only good, really, action scene, in my opinion, in that movie was when Batman was beating the shit out of that warehouse full of bad guys.
Oh, yeah.
That was really cool. But other than that, really thinking about it and thinking back to it, that sucked dick. So I don't care what anybody says about that. Wonder Woman, I thought, was fucking useless. Why is she even there? She's just literally interjected. And don't give me some pretentious shit like, you have to be smart to figure out, like, blah, blah, blah. No, she's just terribly just shoehorned in there.
And her motivation for being there isn't really explained. Like, from what it seems, it's like, oh, Lex has this picture of me, but she's like hundreds of years old, so it's like, why would anyone care? Or like, she could just easily just disappear off the face of the earth, and like no one would know who the hell she was.
Well, here's a fucking even better thing, man. This movie takes place in the goddamn modern world. Nobody. And I am 100% guaranteeing nobody would have looked at that picture and been like, oh, shit, you're 100 years old. Nah, motherfucker, you could have literally just said, I'm cosplaying in this picture.
Yeah.
Which it kind of looks like a cosplay. I will say, Gal Gadot, first off, I didn't really have any doubts about Gal Gadot, mainly because I didn't care. But Gal Gadot seems fine as Wonder Woman. The writing does not seem fine, but she herself is fine as Wonder Woman. She's very hot, but at the same time, she looks very strong, at least in the CG fight scene they had with her for a little bit. But I also hate her theme. I mean, just overall, I think, like, this Batman v Superman is fucking awful, dude. For fuck's sake, that vision dream thing that Wayne had, that made no sense. Why? Like, from an editing perspective, that makes no sense. It looks like he falls asleep, but then he just wakes up. But it's like there's this whole dream nightmare thing where, like, I don't know if the movie is actually trying to be that insulting by, like, not really telling you if it was a dream or a vision implanted by the Flash. And then the Flash just appears out of nowhere wearing a fucking garbage can as a suit. Like... You know, and, like, he's, like, I saw a still of him, like, frozen. Motherfucker isn't even shaved. He has a mustache in his suit. Like, why? Like...
Yeah, he had, like, a mustache and, like, stubble going on.
Yeah, it's so stupid. Like, and then, like, the other thing, like, what the fuck? The scene where Wonder Woman gets an email from Batman, and she's, like, reading it one line at a time. Who the fuck reads an email like that? Let alone this, like... top secret.
I found out who you are. Who are you?
But this fucking top secret encrypted fucking email has, like, the LexCorp logo plastered all over it. And not only that, it has files on future Justice League members with these little fucking perfectly designed graphic design icons. Are you shitting me? Are you insulting your audience that badly? Get the fuck out of here. Like, and that's where it also comes in, where like I see this cop out bullshit meme, like, if you're a DC Comics fan, you'll like this movie. If you're a Marvel fan, you'll hate this movie. And then there's like a little other thing in it. No, that's bullshit. I am a DC Comics fan. I like DC Comics stuff more than Marvel Comics. Not because I hate Marvel Comics, but mainly because my interest in reading comics lies in DC stuff with the Batman stuff and the Vertigo stuff. So there's that. But honestly, how the fuck, you tell me, from just a story editing perspective, how the fuck does it make sense that you're going to show Batman having this random vision dream thing that you don't even clarify? Showing the Darkseid symbol, which, by the way, yes, I'm giving spoilers. Fuck you and your sensitive self right now. I'm giving you spoilers. You show this Darkseid Omega symbol, God of War symbol, basically, thing for people that don't know what that is. And just kind of have people to have, like, any inclination of an idea. Any inclination. You show his little, like, monkey, like, apocalypse rider things, or whatever the fuck they're supposed to be called. Parademons, yeah. How are people supposed to know what those are? You know what I mean? You show Flash in what essentially, I'm making fun of the suit, but it looks like Injustice design. But then it's alluding to a Flashpoint paradox, like, storyline in the comics. So, let me understand this. This is a Batman v Superman movie that's setting up the Justice League, but is also kind of pseudo-telling a Dark Knight Returns story, which then it just kind of veers off of and starts telling a Death of Superman story. But in the middle of all this, you're mixing in just Flashpoint paradox, some fucking Darkseid bullshit, and Injustice of some form. How does that even make any sense? How does that work narratively? That script literally has ADHD, folks. It is medically diagnosed to have ADHD. Fuck this movie and fuck that script, okay? So, what are your thoughts on it, Paul?
Well, my thoughts aren't quite as inflamed, I guess. Well, I didn't necessarily enjoy the movie. I also didn't think it was a good movie. Well, I didn't think it was a bad movie, rather. Well, not like totally bad. I mean, it was bad, but like not awful, I thought. It was a resounding meh for me. You touched on a lot of the problems I had. There's just a lot of leaps of logic in a lot of the storytelling.
God, don't even talk about that.
What was that?
The fucking beginning of the movie where, like, the guy's in the tower and he's like, "Oh, hey guys, the boss is calling. Y'all can leave now. I'll just stay here and die," even though there's Super Saiyans fighting outside. Fucking.
There are just so many things, like, some of the imagery and, like, some of the scenes that they chose to, like, repeat, like, really weren't necessary. Like, do we really need to see Batman's parents die again? Like, we know they're dead. We know they got shot in a fucking alley by some mugger. Like, we know what happened. Well, we also don't need to see Batman turning into Jesus Christ with bats. Like,
oh my God. I nearly shit myself.
Getting literally lifted out of a cave by, like, a swarm of bats. Like, are you shitting me right now? Like, please get your, like, pretension out of my face.
I almost wanted to leave the theater, like, right at the beginning. Because, before going in, I heard this movie had some really bad reviews, but then I was like, whatever, I'll give it a chance. The moment I saw him, like, floating up, like, my stomach turned so badly. I'm like, this better be a dream. This better be a dream, because I will seriously leave this fucking theater right now. That was atrocious, but continue.
Yeah, so that's, God, what else even was there? Yeah, the whole thing with Wonder Woman, like, she just totally shoehorned in.
How about Lex's motivations? Or
Lex, yeah. I hated this rendition of Lex. I mean, I hated
so bad.
Jesse Eisenberger as him. Like, I just so wish they would have chose someone else. But, I mean, that aside, even, like, his motivations didn't seem clear. I've seen other people mention, like, what exactly is he trying to achieve? Like, sure, yeah, he wants to get rid of Superman, but, like, why? Like, I understand that, like, sure, there's this entity that has this power to potentially, kill all of humanity, sure. But like, why would you go about making like a monstrosity that has the same power that can't even be controlled? Like, if it wasn't for Superman, that thing wouldn't even have died. Like, there's no way to kill it. Like, unless, they managed, like, Batman or someone managed to kill it. Like, they nuke the fucking thing in the sky, and, like, it doesn't even die. It gets more powerful, in fact. And it's just, like, why are you doing this? Like, what is your... I forget who exactly I was watching, but, like, they mentioned, like, if it was outright that he was setting the stage for Darkseid to, like, come in and clear out all these heroes and stuff like that, because Darkseid could
But how would he?
But like Darkseid could easily come in and just do away with Doomsday, whatever. But like, yeah, that's the thing. Like, because one of the deleted scenes they came out with, like they released recently, they showed Lex talking to like some weird like cyber weird demon thing. I don't know if it was Darkseid himself or if it was like a lieutenant of Darkseid. Some people think it was a certain character. I forget its name. But yeah, that supposedly it was like, it's like some weird cyber thing made out of like the liquid that he dipped Zod's body in or whatever the fuck. And then like, cause all these like SWAT team like storm the ship to like go arrest Lex, and like they see him like talking to this like thing or whatever the fuck. And then like when the thing sees everyone, it like, turns back into jelly or whatever the fuck. So, like, at that point, sure, like, he kind of knows at that point, he's, talking, he knows what Darkseid is, and Darkseid's coming, and stuff like that, etc. But, like, it's just not explained well, and, like, but prior to that, like, why is he bothering making all this stuff? Like, if it was mentioned somehow before, or, like, set up somehow before that, he knew what he was doing, and, like, he was doing this to further Darkseid's cause, sure, like, I could forgive...
The excuse that I've actually seen, and this is only an excuse, that's a really bad one, is remember when he was in the ship and and the ship's like, "Do you want to learn everything about the fucking universe, bro?" And then apparently right after that scene, he was just motivated.
Yeah, it's like, how do you learn literally everything from like hundreds of planets within like a span of like 30 minutes? Like, must not have been that much life out there or information for him to figure out, unless he asked for the TLDR version of it. And I'm just like, hey, Darkseid's coming. You should probably help him or something. But yeah, like, his motivation was so unclear. Superman, his motivation... Superman in general, I felt like they did him a disservice. Like, honestly, I'm not a huge Superman fan, but, like, I felt like he could have been portrayed in a better way. Like, just throughout this whole time, throughout the movie, whenever they showed him in clips of, like, saving people and stuff, he just looked like he didn't give a shit. Like, he was just doing this because it was his job. Like...
Oh, like the part where, like, the Senate building...
Yeah, like, he's literally surrounded by, like, flames, and he's just like, damn. Oh, well. It's just like... literally, he was just standing there. Like, he didn't look like he was, like, suffering for these people, or like sad, or like, oh fuck, what happened? Like, he's just standing there like stoic faced. Like, it's just no emotion. It's just like, what? But yeah, so I didn't understand that of like he is just used kind of as like a plot device to further Batman's cause and like further everyone else's cause. To like, I guess, like, everything's happening because of Superman, it seemed, for the most part. And it just did, I think, a disservice to...
He got tossed to the side in his own
sequel,
technically.
And it's just, the other characters... Lois Lane, I don't... She was okay, I guess, but, like, towards the end, she just turned into a fucking idiot. But also an all-knowing idiot. Like, with the iconic scene with what? Batman...
Let me make a comment about the Lois Lane thing. So, her main reason to even fucking have a story in this is, this doesn't even make sense. So, she was doing that reporting with those black Nigerian princes in Iraq. And so, anyways, everybody gets killed, okay? And then Superman comes save her. But you're telling me her main story arc is... people trying to prove the innocence of Superman because they think Superman used
bullets,
these fucking guns.
Yeah. It's like he shoots literal fucking lasers
terrorists?
out of his eyes. Like, I don't think he needs to shoot anyone ever. The only way he could have shot someone is if they shot him and the bullet ricocheted off of him back at them. That's the only way they could have died, by bullet.
Man, it's just like when a plot like that is one of the main parts of your story, there's something wrong.
Yeah, it's just like that shouldn't have been such a driving motivation for so much of the storyline. And it's just going back to Lex, like he after a while was just turned into a fucking lunatic. Like he wasn't like calculating and like genius like the Lex Luthor that, you know, people are used to. And so, you know, people have the complaint or like the justification or whatever. They're like, oh, well, we've had 75 years of whatever, you know, here's a new one. Like when it comes to like Batman killing people and stuff like that, which honestly I don't give a damn about. Batman killing people to me makes sense in this universe, sure. But like what doesn't make sense is that Lex is just a raving madman. Like he is just, you know, stuttering and shit, but like every rendition of Lex, I think in general, it doesn't even matter how you portray him, but like I think the resounding feature of Lex is that he's almost smarter than anyone else. In this one, like he doesn't seem that way, and like he just seems like a not shoehorned, but like a caricature, or like he's trying to fucking be like the Riddler or like the Joker, and like, you know, what was his motivation to like taunt Superman like was just so weak. It's just like, oh, I have your mom. Look at these pictures that I took of her. Like, how?
Why did you say that name?
Oh God, yeah, we'll get to that. But yeah, speaking of that ending scene with the fight of Batman v Superman, I felt it was so slow. Like most of it, because it was, you know, Batman mainly beating the shit out of Superman, like, and Batman's suit was heavy as fuck. But like at the same time, like it's just it just dragged on so long. Like this whole time I was excited because I was like, oh shit, this part of the movie is probably going to be slightly redeeming, and it's probably going to be a badass scene. Nope. Like, literally, it's just fucking Batman walking like slow at like a fucking snail's pace to like pick up Superman, throw him off a fucking ledge, jump down, like tie a rope to him, drag him around, throw him through some pillars. You know, Superman got maybe like 2 punches off, or like a few punches off of Batman, but like the majority of it was Batman leading the fight. And
which, although to be fair, that is how it was.
Well, yeah, but like just the pacing of it was just like so slowly done. It's like, holy shit, do I really need to see fucking Batman slog 30 feet? Like, take 5 minutes to go 30 feet in his fucking super suit? It's like, no. Like, just cut to him picking Superman up and fucking throwing him off the ledge. Like, I don't need to see him slowly walk over to the fucking balcony. I know what he's gonna do. Like, he's gonna throw him off his ledge.
I almost burst out laughing when he started swinging Superman.
Yeah. He was just literally just throwing, like, he had him hook up to a wire, throwing him through pillars. But yeah, and then he's literally about to kill Superman, and then, you know, luckily Lois Lane shows up, and Superman's like, they have Martha. You know, wouldn't he say, like, they have my mom, or, like, some shit like that? It's not like Batman didn't already know. I would imagine, I figured Batman would have already known at this point that he was, like, Clark Kent. I thought. But, yeah, he was like, oh, they have Martha, and, like, what a fucking coincidence. Batman's mother's name's Martha. And, you know, sure, you know, losing your parents in such a tragic way, sure, that's traumatizing and all, but, like, Batman's fucking, like, 40 years old. Like, is, like, hearing his mom's name really that triggering? Like, did Superman really invade Batman's safe space? Like, when he said Martha's name? Like, he just seemed instantly, like, flustered and, like, what? Why'd you say that name? And then Lois Lane shows up out of fucking nowhere, because somehow she knows exactly where they're fighting. And, like, exactly what floor they're on at that time. But she comes up, she's like, it's his mother. It's like, and then Batman instantly stumbles backward, like, weakened by this emotional revelation. And it's like, oh God, I'm sorry.
Like, gee golly.
It's like, shit, why didn't you say that in the first place? It's like
I almost expected Burt Ward to come out of nowhere. Gee Willikers, Batman.
it's just like,
but you didn't see that.
yeah, they have his mom. It's like Batman should have been like, so, like just fucking killed Superman right there, or like
Like,
or maybe maybe don't kill Superman, maybe feel a little sympathy for him, but like they just become like instant best buds, and they're like, hey, you know what? You take care of the fucking monster here. I'll go save your mom. Like, it's like, I trust you enough that you can handle this situation. Like, I trust you fully because our moms share the same first fucking name.
yeah, and the other thing is just like, the dialogue in that scene was so bad too. I literally thought like it was like a hashtag. He's just like, I'll save Martha, or save Martha.
Hashtag save Martha.
Some shit like. Oh my
yeah,
God.
it's just it made no sense to the character that we'd been shown for like the majority of the movie. And again, maybe, I mean, to me, maybe things like hearing someone's name like that is triggering, but like I don't think so.
Triggered.
Like, I don't know. Maybe it's because it was such a traumatic way, sure, but like, I don't know. It was just frustrating to see it end that way. And then Lois Lane, going back to her, like, she takes the fucking spear of truth, or whatever you want to call it, the kryptonite spear Batman was just about to kill Superman with, like, after they all leave, she takes a spear and just, like, instead of, like, hey, I'll hang on to this to give to Superman or someone to take care of, or to, like, take it to the fucking Fortress of Solitude, something to, like, make sure it's safe. No, let me just throw it into this fucking, like, 10 feet pool inside this building. Because, no one will find it. It's not like people will ever do construction on this building. Or, like, clean up the debris because this building's clearly not fucking destroyed by their fight. And it's just like, no, let me just toss it into this lake. And then I didn't understand how she knew to, like, retrieve it again. Like, because, like, they were so far away when they're like, hey, we need to get the fucking spear to kill Doomsday. Because, it's kryptonite, he's a Kryptonian, or, like, he's part Kryptonian, or whatever the fuck. Like, this spear will work to kill him. This is like, but suddenly Lois Lane suddenly knew, as if she was there with Batman and Superman, and she could hear their conversation. But, like, she was way far away, and it wasn't like they were screaming this information to each other. But, like, she instantly starts, like, diving back in to get it, and then, of course, she gets trapped and has to be rescued again when Superman comes in there and tries to save her. And, of course, he almost fucking drowns because it's kryptonite. It's just such a clusterfuck. It's like, what are you doing? It's like, why? Like, why did this have to happen?
The other thing I also didn't understand is, remember when Lex shoved her off the helipad? Like, how did Superman know to save her?
I think he heard her.
From where? He was like in Kuwait or something.
I think he has like super hearing where he could hear supposedly anywhere. But like, that brings up a good thing. Like, why didn't he hear the bomb? Well, actually, I think there's another deleted scene, or I don't know if it was a deleted scene or if they had originally planned on it doing it, or if it was something, but it got cut. Was that, like, I think he tried listening for her or something like that, or, like, listening for his mom or some shit. But at the same time, yeah, I think he was listening for his mom, so it's not exactly to do what you're saying. But, like, he overheard, like, all the other crimes going on, like, in town and stuff like that, and, he heard all these people suffering, but, like, he had to ignore them, just because he was trying to find his mom. So, like, to kind of make it a little, I think these people say it was too dark or some shit. I don't remember exactly, but that he was like, hearing all these people in pain and like being, attacked or whatever the fuck, and like he was just like overlooking it because his mom was in danger. But yeah, again, I don't know. Apparently, it's like supersonic hearing, which like, why didn't he hear the bomb in the fucking building? Yeah, shit like that. Like, he could hear Alfred talking to Batman through, like, a tiny-ass earpiece. It's like, what? And, like, but then, like, he didn't even act on it. Like, he totally heard, like, Alfred tell Batman, like, some pretty relevant information. Like, hey, there's, like, your shit that you're stealing in the basement's ready. And, like, he starts following him, but then instantly Superman's like, hey, TV, news report is happening. Maybe I should go save these people instead of following this person that seems highly suspicious. And has maybe something to do with the Batman, of which I am currently obsessed with for some reason. It's like, fuck it. And then, was the scene where Superman stops Batman from chasing those guys, Like, you know, he, like, knocks Batman's car to the side or whatever the fuck. Like, was it really important? Like, couldn't he have stopped those villains first? Like, he let those guys get away. Like,
Right.
he totally fucking, like, just stopped Batman. Like, he didn't even go after the people. And then, it's just like, why? Like, was that more important? Like, you could have saved... You could have, like, helped Batman in that instance and then be like, hey, stop fucking doing what you're doing. But instead he's like, hey, fuck those villains that I just let go. Like,
The bat is
the bat is
dead.
dead. Bury it.
E-penis contest.
Like, exactly. Bury it. Consider this mercy. Like, first off, fuck you, Superman. Like, do you really think that's gonna be, like, intimidating to this person who's already, like, so much like a badass, like, vigilante? Like, I don't think you saying that's gonna
You
stop
think
him.
Ben Affleck is afraid of you, Superman?
Like, someone who fucking brands people to get murdered in prison. Like, I'm pretty sure he's not scared of you, Superman.
Like, nah, nigga, he's already off the deep end. Just because you crashed his car a little and, like, ruined it. Man, it would have been so funny if he found out it was Lex and he sent him a bill for Batmobile repairs. I ruined you now, Superman. Financial debt, bitch. Like,
But yeah, overall, I mean, in general, like, I felt like the cameos were shoehorned in with the Justice League.
really
I felt they
terrible.
could have done without that. The future scene I thought was neat. You know, obviously people who aren't familiar with the comic books, and you know, there's a lot of shit in there that I wasn't totally familiar with, that I'd only really known from other reviews or spoilers and stuff. I mean, I have a passing interest in Batman and like Superman lore and stuff. Like, I know enough, and like I know like about Darkseid and shit like that. I didn't know what like parademons were. I probably wouldn't have outright recognized the Omega symbol. But yeah, and then like a lot of the people going to see this movie have no fucking clue what's going on. A lot of the people I talked to who weren't like DC like super fans, like when that scene happened, they're like, "What the fuck was any of that?" Like, like why is this happening? What are those fucking flying crickets? And like, like what was going on? And it's just like, yeah, I enjoyed it because I thought it was a pretty cool setup. I would enjoy a movie of that like scenario, like that post whatever world of like Batman leading whatever, maybe rebellion or some shit. Maybe not ending in that particular way, but in that general sense of him like being, you know, a soldier essentially against like this army of, you know, evil Superman. So I thought that would have been cool, but like, yeah, I thought the whole like dream thing was dumb. I'm assuming it has to be a fucking vision of the future. Like, it has to be, because people are saying it was a dream, but like Batman doesn't know at this point anything about parademons, the Omega symbol, like why any of this like would happen. Sure, like he thinks of the worst case scenario of like Superman taking over, but like why this specific imagery? Like, unless, you know, the director did it just for the fuck of like having like, hey, references. But like, I feel like it has to have more meaning to it, that like this is something that's going to happen if they don't change something by the appearance of the Flash or whatever, saying, you know, coming back and warning Bruce. And yeah, so like, you know, it was confusing, as well as the mother box in the
Oh my god!
in the cyborg
oh
thing.
my god! About
like
that,
no one would have
like,
known what the fuck that was. Like, if you aren't like a super fan, like I saw it, I already knew that like a mother box was in it, like, and everything. But like to everyone else, it looks just like some weird fucking pulsating cube thing.
It's just a pulsating like Tron.
Yeah, and
cube.
for
Like,
all we could have known, that scientist who was making the fucking body or whatever, he could have made that box. Like, yeah, for all we've known, and then
Miles.
yeah,
Davis.
then it fucking activates and like fuses or whatever. Like, sure. And then just like some of the shots that this so-called security footage caught, it's like, give me a fucking break. Like, Flash is really like, he should not have been able to get picked up. Like, his movement should not have been able to get picked up on the fucking camera. Like, him disappearing like that and hitting the criminal and then reappearing where he was, like, it should have been like pretty instantaneous, to the point where like I don't think the fucking camera would have been fast enough. Like, unless they have like a fucking like 60 frame per second camera in this shitty convenience store, Like, I don't think they should have been able to notice him move so fast. I think maybe a better thing was suddenly, they show him standing there, he looks over, and then suddenly, like, the villain gets fucking, like, pummeled or something by, like, seemingly nothing or whatever. That would have been cool. Like, I thought more of a cool way to show his power was that's how fast he was, instead of actually showing him disappear, do it, reappear. But yeah, that Aquaman's was, that one was the absolute worst in my opinion. Like, it's like, hey, look at me in my fucking Pantene commercial. It's like, and like,
maybe it's
like, why did he linger? Why did they linger on that like that for so long? Why did he even let himself be recorded? I'm sure Aquaman knows what a fucking camera is. Like, sure, he lives in a fucking underwater, like, city, but, like, I don't think he's so far removed from the upper world that he doesn't know shit about the upper world. But it's like, he's like, hey, what is this thing? Oh, wait. Trident to the fucking camera. And, like, missiles it out of this. I was kind of confused by that next part. Did he, like, missile it out of the fucking, like, water? Or, like, I didn't understand the little clip after that. Because it was still very clearly underwater.
Honestly, I don't even remember, like...
And, like, yeah, it's like, why would he linger like that? It was just so awkward, and it's just, like, I felt like it's the movie's way of, like, hey, look at Aquaman. He doesn't look like a bitch, does he? It's like, but there was no point, because it was like, what? Why do we need this close-up of fucking Khal Drogo underwater for, like, fucking 3 minutes? Like, we don't. Just, like, show, like, a brief something, or, like, show maybe a glimpse of, like, yeah, I don't know if Atlantis is in this fucking universe. I mean, it's technically what Aquaman rules, I think. Show, like, maybe them discovering that, like, a part of the city, or, like, a camera noticing it, and then getting destroyed or some shit. Or, like, just a trident, something, small imagery. Like, it didn't have to be as fucking blatant as it was. But, like, all in all, I felt like they could have just not used it at all. And then, the scene,
I mean,
I don't know.
Pretty much though. You guys can tell
we have our problems with this movie.
You were saying earlier you didn't really have that many problems with it. It sounds like you pretty much hate this movie like me.
I mean, I've watched it like 2-3 times just because I watched online.
Ew, are you serious? Why?
Well, I saw it in theater the first time, and then the consecutive times afterwards were online. It was just like background.
Are they good copies?
They're okay. Like they're not awful. They're still cam rips, but I mean, they do the job, like fairly well.
Okay, that
works. But yeah, so I watched those, and it's just like to kind of like, I guess I was like, yeah, do I not like this movie? Just to make it like 100% clear, I'm like, yeah, I don't like this movie. But like at the same time, even after watching it, and even with its flaws, like I won't say it's outright terrible. I'll say it was badly done, and it wasn't the greatest movie. It wasn't a good movie, but like I wouldn't say it's awful. I'd say it's.
Well, then I will say.
I would say it's like a meh. Like it's like what?
Well, moving on to a little bit of a positive, and I think we're gonna keep it a little shorter because I have to go actually in like 5 minutes.
Okay.
Rogue One, a Star Wars story trailer came out. And
Yes, it did.
I'm not gonna lie. I'm just gonna give you my honest opinion. I think it looks pretty awesome. I'm slightly worried that it's directed by Gareth Edwards. Good director, but I didn't really like Godzilla. But then again, this is Star Wars material, so we're not decades removed from a good Godzilla film, I guess. So what do you call it? No, I think Rogue One looks good. It has a cast that I like. I do like that it's another female lead. I honestly like Jyn Erso looks like an interesting character, but I also really like that actress Felicity Jones. She's a fantastic actress. Forrest Whitaker looks awesome in the movie as like some, I don't even know what he is. Looks like kind of like a samurai, or I don't know really. Donnie Yen's in it. It's pretty cool. I just like that it's so,
Mads Mikkelsen.
Yeah, Mads Mikkelsen. He played Hannibal. I just like that it's it looks really gritty.
Yeah.
Like I guess what it is it shows it's a Star Wars. Star Wars is a universe to the general mainstream. You know? It shows that, and that there is a world outside of fucking Jedi.
Yeah.
There's other people doing other things that are just as important.
Yeah, I was watching a kind of funny kind of reaction to it, and yeah, I would love if they went the way if there's absolutely no mention of the Jedi, there's no lightsabers, there's no like imagery of the Jedi in it, like apart from maybe like if Darth Vader makes an appearance, like that being the only thing, but like apart from that, like I would love for it to just be mainly these like normal people for the most part, albeit normal people, normal aliens or whatever. Instead of like any
just no Jedi stuff in general. Yeah. I mean, obviously except Darth Vader, but I mean overall, do you think it looks good?
I do. It looks interesting. Like you said, it looks pretty. I feel like it'd be cool to have like kind of like a Star Wars type Zero Dark 30. Like kind of a
Yeah, I mean I was seeing comparisons to like, what do you call it, like war movies, so Zero Dark 30 or Saving Private Ryan, a lot of people were saying.
Okay, yeah.
With the because the AT-ATs or whatever, that scene, it was kind of reminiscent of the beach.
Oh yeah, that looked cool. That seeing them in a new environment instead of just seeing them purely on Hoth, so like in a tropical environment. As well as the Shadow Troopers look pretty cool.
Oh my God, was that the Black Trooper?
Yeah.
Yeah, that guy looks so fucking cool, dude.
So it'll be interesting to see exactly like what kind of different things they'll do. Like it's just cool seeing all of like the old stuff just remodernized now.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it'll be an interesting movie. I know some people were being fucking stupid about it being a female lead, but I honestly don't mind. I mean, we've had how many movies with a male lead? How many Star Wars movies with a male lead? So like I think it's perfectly fine. 6. And people are trying to make theories already that supposedly this person is like Rey's mother or some shit like that. And like I don't want that. I just want a standalone story. Like I don't need a fucking like there doesn't need to be a connection to like the new Star Wars, like whatever new trilogy coming out. There doesn't need to be any sort of anything that has to do with that. I prefer if it was just completely its own thing, and maybe reference like happenings, because I believe it's between 3 and 4, right?
Yeah, so it's between 3 and 4.
Yeah, so like if they reference things if like they actually acknowledge the prequel, would be pretty cool. Like part 3, and then maybe some references to things leading up to part 4 or whatever. So
yeah,
I think all in all, it looks good. I'll definitely watch it. I mean, I enjoyed The Force Awakens, so I'm pretty sure I'll enjoy this one.
Yeah, I mean, I really enjoyed The Force Awakens myself, and I mean, it's more Star Wars, and if it keeps up the quality of Force Awakens, then I have no problem.
Definitely.
But that was pretty much our show today for you guys. So I want to say tune in next week, but we'll see what the schedule is. So I hope you guys enjoyed it. Is there anything else you wanted to add, Paul?
No, that was it.
All right, guys. Well, then thank you for listening, and have a good one. Take it easy.